I'm Clement Pedro, and today on Kitchen Craft, I'll be teaching you how to make delicious pizza from scratch. So the first thing we're going to need to start with is our dough, and this is a very simple dough. It's super easy. Plain flour, cake flour, bread flour, doesn't really matter. Just use the flour, get that in there. Then what you want to do is add some sugar. Keep some of the sugar in the bowl because we're going to use that to activate the yeast. So there's our sugar, and the yeast feeds off the sugar, and you'll notice the bubbles starting to float to the top. That just kind of kickstarts the fermentation process and gets your bread rising even quicker than just like popping it into the bowl. So get that in there, and you're going to give it a bit of water, and the water is just warm. And you don't want to go any hotter than that because you could actually just kill the yeast. So that's all it needs to do. Then salt, very important. Okay, so it's only been about a few seconds, and already I can see a few bubbles starting to form on the top of this yeast and sugar mixture. So I'm gonna leave it for another 30 seconds, then I'm gonna get it into our mixture and start mixing it all together, adding our liquid and forming that dough. Okay, yeast mixture is looking good. I'm gonna make a little well in the center. Get every last little bit of that yeast in the center of the flour. Don't waste any of it. Time to go in with the water, and just to not start a big mess in the beginning, I'm going to use a wooden spoon, and a little bit at a time, just to work all that dough in. If you do add too much water, it's fine. You can just add a little more flour, and if your dough does look a bit dry, just add a little more water. I'm going to add a little more flour to it, and I'm swapping out the spoon for my hands. All I'm going to do is kind of want to just fold that flour through the dough until it doesn't stick to your hands as much as it does right now. You can see that. So let's give it a good fold. When it comes to making doughs, I do believe that using your hands, it's the best tool. You can honestly feel how much moisture there is in the dough. You can feel how soft it is. You can feel the gluten developing. So you know you're on the right track. So we're good to turn out onto our surface, get all the excess flour on there, and start kneading. So kneading is very important. That's developing all that gluten. If we don't, we also don't get that rise that we want in the dough. So kneading is super simple. You're going to use the palm of your hand, you're going to push away, and take your fingertips and pull it back, fold it over itself, and just repeat that process over and over again. And again, if it does start to get sticky, just work in that flour that you got on your surface, and always keep a little bit of flour on the side as well. So it's been about 8 minutes of kneading, and if I poke the dough, it bounces back immediately. So I've developed enough gluten. It needs to rest now for about 45 minutes to an hour. I'm going to leave it on the counter because it's quite warm. The oven's busy preheating, so it's a nice warm space, not too warm. I'm going to cover it with a cloth, and then come back in 45 minutes just to check on it. Okay, so uncovered our beautiful dough, and you can see it's more than doubled its size, exactly what we wanted. And we're going to make 2 pizzas out of this. Get a bit of flour on the knife. Whoa. A little bit of flour on the surface. We're going to start rolling it out to get our shape. Get some flour on your dough and on your rolling pin. And don't rush this process. Let it happen gently, kind of push the dough out. That way, when it relaxes, it doesn't all come back into one little dough ball. Okay, now that we've got the rough shape, we can lift it up. Kind of stretch that dough out a bit. If you want to get fancy, you can cross your fists like this, push up, and then pull them apart. What you should get is this. And every time it falls, just kind of separate your hands again, kind of stretch the dough. I like my pizza to be a little thinner in the center with a nice pillowy crust exterior. And that way, I use it to like dunk it into different sauces. So use my fingertips kind of like just get that shape again. Just feel the dough out. I'm using a pizza peel, but you could use any oven tray, but here's the trick. Using a little bit of semolina stops the pizza from sticking to the board or to your tray. And it gives your pizza crust a very delicious crunchiness. Get that on your board, get that shape. And what should happen is we give the board a jiggle, See how the dough moves? That's exactly what you want. Okay, so we're gonna start dressing our pizza. And the first thing to go down is the tomato sauce. I'm using tomato passata, which is an uncooked tomato sauce, but it's got beautiful, intense tomato flavor. If you wanted to enrich tomato sauce, you could use this, add garlic to it, add basil to it, cook it all together and give it a good blitz. I like it just like this with some fresh garlic grated over it. So you get that like traditional tomato flavor coming through. And we're gonna make a margherita, so just some basil, beautiful mozzarella, beautiful, subtle, delicious pizza. And give it a shake. And not too much, you don't want to make the base soggy, you just want to get enough of that flavor on there. That's good, that's perfect. So once you've got that tomato sauce down, using the back of a spoon, just spread it all over. Okay, now we've got the tomato sauce down, let's get some fresh garlic on there. I love the taste of fresh garlic on a pizza. Super simple for this one, just give it a crush. You don't need a lot of it to get flavor onto your pizza. The microplane always works. Great. Now, time for the cheese. I'm using Fio di Latte mozzarella, which is beautiful, soft, silky, creamy mozzarella, and this has to go down next. We're just going to add basil as our other ingredient, but even if you were using chicken or salami or sausage, it's important that you add the cheese next. What happens is if you add your cheese last, which some people do, when you slice your pizza and you pull your slice of pizza out, you'll just actually pull out dough, and then the top will just be cheese and all your toppings. The cheese over the tomato sauce acts like a glue and holds those toppings in place. So, nice and rustic, just tear the cheese. Again, don't forget about your ends and the crusts. Perfect. Now, all we need is a little bit of olive oil. Again, not too much. And I'm going to add my pizza to my oven tray. And it's a super hot temperature, it's 220, 250 with the fan, and it's gonna cook super quick. I can smell our first pizza is ready. And while it's still hot, fresh basil goes on top. Okay, so we've got our margherita, perfect as is. If you wanted to bring out extra flavor, like extra basil flavor, a good idea is to use basil pesto. Okay, so while your pizza is still really hot, get some of that basil pesto on top. Because my wife likes a margherita, that's her pizza. I like a little bit of meat on mine, we'll do a half and half. And we do some serrano ham on my half. You could also put this on before you actually bake the pizza so it goes crispy. I like the cured meat flavor, so I'm going to add a few little strips to that, and then we're done. Perfectly done pizza. Alright, just a few little slivers of this. That's all I need, a little bit of that flavor, and we are done. How good does this pizza look?